On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to welcome into the program Congressman Andy Ogles. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. And great story, interesting story that you are involved in. You, some Tennessee state lawmakers, including Jack Johnson, the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition, you're moving forward to combat human trafficking, which is interesting. Congressman, because according to a lot of people on the left, that simply doesn't exist in their criticisms of the movie Sound of Freedom. But moving on from there, let's talk about what you're doing here and what your ultimate goal is in this partnership with lawmakers here in Tennessee and also this organization, the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition.
Well, good morning and thanks for having me. And look, if there was ever a bipartisan issue, it should be this issue of human trafficking, especially as it pertains to children. And so if anyone is out there denying that this is happening, they're just a freaking idiot. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's in every community. It's across the state of Tennessee. It's in every country. It's literally the business of human trafficking now rivals the drug trade on a global scale. And this is, you have more people enslaved today than you've had in really any time in modern history. And that's a problem. And what I've seen over the years is I've worked in this space or been around this space is whether it's countries, states, or communities, where you see the biggest dent and impact on this issue is when your elected officials make it a priority. So, on this issue, kudos to the governor, to the General Assembly, and to the TBI. They're going to be producing a report that's due by the end of the year, so that the General Assembly will have a full briefing on the state and status of human trafficking. And again, it's a big issue, and we've got to admit that it's happening and face it head on.
So you were, I don't know if you're still in town, but you were in town yesterday for this press conference. And I think this is one of those moments where, and we've been talking, of course, about the special session, Governor Lee's special session, and they're talking about many different things. And you have the left. And I know that you're well used to this, of course, because, we all deal with the same media. But you've got the left, and they are hyper-focused on, the red flag laws. And the Republicans, I'm just putting this all in air quotes, the Republicans refuse to talk about red flag laws. And so what the Republicans are doing, as I've been saying for months now, they are focused on things that can actually save the lives of children. Talk about, again, you're partnering with, you've got State Senator Jack Johnson, some other folks, as well as this organization. And so talk about, is there any specifics as of yet as to what we can do to fight human trafficking? And yes, number one is admit that it is a problem, which clearly it is. Number one is what exactly can we do? And number two, are there any Democrats involved in this initiative?
Well, when you're talking about real solutions, so in this current General Assembly, the special session, the left has used this as a reason to talk about guns and gun control, and when in reality, the root issue that should be discussed is mental health in this country. So that's why I put forward the TEACH Act, and what that would do is allow teachers, it's permissive, it's an optional thing for them, they could get the training to carry a gun in the classroom. And of course, here goes the left, now they're going to be triggered, no pun intended. Oh, he's talking about guns again. But look, if someone comes into a school, into a classroom, whether they've got a rock, a knife, or a gun, and they mean to do harm, I would want my teacher, my kids' teachers, to be armed so they can put that individual down like a dog. I mean, if your intent is to harm a child, you should be put down. And I'm sorry if that offends someone, but there's nothing more precious than the lives of our children, the safety of our children. So now you segue to this issue of trafficking. And so, one, we've got to secure our border. And, of course, we already have a crisis in this country where children are being sold. But you know what? I'm hardcore when it comes to this issue. And when you start putting people to death for abusing a child, you know what? This crap is going to stop. We've lost accountability in this country. The fact that thugs and hoodlums can go into a Nordstrom or a Nike store or whatever and just take out arms full of merchandise is symptomatic of a root problem we have in this country that everybody's being pandered to. Well, I'm sick of this crap. It's time to lay down the law. We don't need more laws in this country. We just simply need to enforce the ones we've got. And if you do that, a lot of this nonsense goes away. And that includes on the issue of trafficking.
Well, and one of the things that's going on our southern border, and this has been documented by the New York Times of all places, where kids are being trafficked. I mean, that is an absolute fact. So you're right. If you fix the border, then you go a long way in fixing the child trafficking and the human trafficking problems that we have in this country. And there is a significant problem here in Middle Tennessee. I don't know if you saw the story, but yesterday I reported a story about a fact that there's now a big hole in our border, not that we didn't have any already, but in Tucson, now there is just an area that is wide open, and you have got all of these illegals coming in, and they put a waterway in this particular area, and I forget exactly the reason why, something about animals being able to go through, something along those lines. But at the same time, you've got Joe Biden, who is selling pieces of Donald Trump's wall that was supposed to be used for the wall, and now you've got the president selling these pieces of the wall. And it's just, to me, we still see the catastrophic issues that we have on the southern border. That story, I pulled it up real quick, Congressman, where we have thousands of, this is from the New York Post, again, thousands of migrants are flowing across the U.S. border in Arizona every day, more and more. They say literally through open floodgates that have made the Tucson Post the busiest point of illegal entry into the country. The Post has learned what they're saying is that the reason why they're doing this is to allow water to flow freely during the annual monsoon season and the migration of an endangered species of antelope. And so, I mean, to me, what they're doing is they're doing whatever they can to allow all these people to come into our country illegally. This is just another way to do it. Is there anything that is going on in the House of Representatives? There's really not a lot you can do with the Senate that is controlled by the Democrats. And, of course, we know what's going on in the White House. It really feels like your hands are tied right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've already passed what arguably is the most aggressive immigration package in recent history, with HB2. So, we had HB1, which is our energy package, and we followed that up with our immigration package. But like you said, the Senate has their hands tied. But and this is just, par for the course. This administration has literally sold out America to the oligarchs and to whoever else is willing to pay for access. And, now they're literally, under the Biden administration, if 10,000 people crossed in a month's time, that was considered a crisis. That was kind of an inflection point for the Obama administration. I'm talking about Obama now, right? And now you fast forward to Joe Biden, where we're hitting 250,000, or let me back up, 200,000, 250,000, 300,000 people a month. And look, that's great and all, the endangered species, the antelope. But look, when it comes to national security, it's time to secure the border. And, for that matter, cook up some antelope if that's what it takes. But, if I have to choose between the antelope and the freedom of my children, the freedom of the next generation, our sovereignty, and the number of people, keep in mind, under 9/11, roughly a dozen people pulled off that attack on our country. And we've caught over 250 people now on the southern border that are on the terror watch list. Now, think about that for a moment. Over 250 terrorists on the watch list we've apprehended. Who haven't we apprehended? Who is here that we don't know about? This is problematic. That's why I think Mayorkas should be impeached. When I issued my articles of impeachment against Joe Biden, I specifically mentioned the border because it's criminal what this administration is doing to our country.
I know that there's been, I don't know, Congressman, how many now different articles of impeachment have been filed against the president? I know it's at least 4. And so,
I know of 4. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, myself, and then Stubbe out of Florida are the 4. There's been other articles against other various members of the administration, but those are the 4 that I'm aware of as it pertains to the president.
And, of course, we all know that there's a lot going on with Hunter Biden, with Joe Biden. There seems to be so many different reasons why Joe Biden should not be in office at this point, whether it is the lying, the DOJ, Hunter Biden. I mean, we could go on and on. I think the 25th Amendment would be absolutely appropriate as it relates to Joe Biden. But the bottom line is I'm beginning to feel like Kevin McCarthy isn't really going to do much of anything, and you can agree, disagree, tell me I'm wrong, whatever. But it's starting to feel like we're hearing a lot about this impeachment inquiry. We keep hearing it. We keep hearing it. We keep hearing it. James Comer, Jim Jordan. Is anything going to happen with this? Because I think folks are beginning to get a little cynical.
Well, so I do want to reassure folks. I do believe, and if I change my mind, I tend not to have a filter. I'm going to tell you, but I do believe we are going to have an impeachment inquiry. The question is the timing. If I had to guess, and I think this is too far away, but if I had to guess, it'll be sometime in January. I personally believe it's go time. Now, my articles of impeachment were written in such a fashion that I could do a privileged motion. Now, keep in mind, a privileged motion is kind of a nuclear option. But what it would do is it would force a vote within roughly 48 hours. And so I've put that out there so the leadership can know and see it to understand, look, my district, the people of Tennessee, quite frankly, I would argue most of the people in the country, but certainly in the South, are fed up with this nonsense. I mean, you literally have the Biden administration or Biden himself falling asleep just was it yesterday or the day before in the middle of the day when he's at some event. I mean, guys, this is ridiculous. And whether you're a Biden voter or not, I mean, this has reached the point of absurd. Look, I'm tired. I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning. I did Fox Business. I was on national radio. My favorite, I get to do Dan Mandis in the morning. But that being said, is you know what? I'm not going to fall asleep in public.
Right.
I mean, is that too much to ask? Holy cow! This is the president of the United States.
And not only that, but he fell asleep while people are telling their horrific stories there in Maui. And then, he probably would have been better off staying asleep, because then he gives this horrifying speech. Whereas I was speaking to Senator Haggerty earlier as well. Biden then gives this horrifying speech where he tries to equate his small little kitchen fire with what happened in Maui, where people have lost everything, including loved ones. And once again, Joe Biden horrifies and embarrasses America on not only a national but a worldwide stage. And Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles, we'll leave it there and appreciate you being with us on Nashville's Morning News at 7:51.